to another episode of Let's Talk Money with Friends. Oh my gosh, every Thursday, every Wednesday, actually, I have the privilege of coming to you to talk about money, life, and everything else. I say on this show that money encompasses everything. And every single week, I think about, what should I talk about? What would be a relevant and timely topic to talk about? And I think tonight is definitely the topic that we're going to be discussing is very much relevant and timely. I don't know if many of you have seen the post. I was with a young lady. I call her young lady, but she's 73 years old. The reason I'm sharing her age, because she's been sharing her age throughout the day and she's not afraid to share it. And we were talking about housing. So tonight's topic is housing matters because as far as I'm concerned, housing is such an important part of our lives. Because today when we're discussing it, we said, you know what? If your home is not safe and habitable, nothing in your life works well. So how do I know? Because I know personally how it feels to have to deal with housing insecurity. Because when you are dealing with a situation and you're not sure what's going to happen to your own home, it can be very detrimental. It can be very difficult for you. And as we know, we have a housing crisis in Boston. We have a housing crisis in the United States altogether. And that housing crisis is not something that I did. It's not something that you did. It's not something any of us could have ever imagined would happen, but it is happening, and we need to find a solution, a long-term solution, sustainable solution for this problem. So tonight's topic is housing matters. Actually, I'm one of those people. I'm a planner. I usually plan weeks in advance for the show. But guess what? This show here is happening last minute because Miss Annie and Miss Betty were on the show with me tonight. Did not expect to be on the show tonight, but after we had what we had today, the great conversation that we had today, I said to them, do you ladies want to be on tonight with me to talk about this? Because I felt like we're having such an in-depth discussion about housing and that it would be great to kind of have this conversation here live online. So Miss Annie and Miss Betty, my two friends. Can you, actually, Miss Annie, can you say hello, introduce yourself, and let us know who you are and yeah, and how long you've been in the industry?
Hi, my
Miss Annie, Miss Betty, you're on two screen. Okay,
okay,
great.
I know.
Actually,
Okay,
one screen is fine. The one screen
okay,
that
I'm
you
here.
had was fine.
Okay,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Okay, can you see me?
yeah. I can see you fine. Can you hang up the other one then?
Yes, I'm doing it now.
Yeah. Oh wow, technology, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. So, Miss Annie, thank you so much for coming on the show. I just posted that why is it that you have a 70-year-old plus year old lady who's been paying her rent on time, who's been responsible? Why is she facing eviction? So, before we even get into this conversation, why don't we have you introduce yourself quickly and let us know why we decided to be part of the show tonight? Miss Betty, you can let everything be the way it is right now. Thank you so much,
Okay.
hon.
I'm
Yeah,
just
go
trying to.
ahead, Miss Penny.
Okay. Well, hello. Good evening, everyone. My name is Annie, and I've lived in the Boston area. I've lived here for over 50 years. So I just wanted to say hello.
Yeah, exactly. 50 years in the Boston area. What about you, Miss Betty? How long have you been in the Boston area?
Hi, good evening. My name is Betty. Yes, thank you for having me on your show tonight, Gabrielle. Yes, I've been over here about almost 40, about 42, 43 years.
40,
And in the neighborhood, I've been over here for, in here 40, almost 43 years. Yes, in here.
40,
Yes.
43 years. So you are long-term residents of the community where you at, right? The Boston area.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. So Miss Annie, the reason why we were together today, and I have some pictures that I'll show. The reason we're together today because Fox 25, which is a local television station here, wanted to interview you and myself about your situation because I work with you. I've been supporting you for years, and I've been supporting your community for years fighting to stay in your home, right? So,
Yes.
can you tell us a little bit about your interview today and why do you feel like you have become the spokesperson for what's happening in your community?
Well, About the interview today, they wanted to speak with me concerning the housing situation here. And
I'll show some picture.
my thing is they raise the rents here, and they're pricing people out of the community. So it's something of interest, obviously, to everybody. So the media wanted to speak with me today to just let this be known.
Yeah, yeah, because there was me, myself, you, and
Yes,
Miss Betty in your apartment, the
yes,
apartment that you've lived at for 50 years in Boston. And I mean, 50 years, why did you decide to go into that apartment? I mean, like rent there versus anywhere else 50 years ago.
well, I was looking for a good, clean community, a place that I could raise my son in, and with the schools convenient and everything convenient to me, as far as shopping and worshiping and medical situations, and just a good, clean, wholesome, friendly community that was within the city of Boston.
Yeah, so you were looking at safe, habitable. And was
Yes.
it the affordability? What about the amount of rent you paying? Were you also happy with that? Because I know many times when we choosing, like, where do we go? How do we go there? Why do we go there? Typically, price is a big part of it, right?
Yes, that at that time, yes, that was a big part of it also, and especially when you have a small child, you need to consider these things also. The price at that time, the price for a rental was very good, actually. Yes, that
Yeah,
was a concern also.
definitely. Miss Betty, was this
Yeah.
the reason, was it the reason too why you decided 43 years ago to join your community? Price and location?
Yes, I was living in Dorchester and with my sister, and so we had to find a place to stay. So my other sister and I moved over here to Fallon. We was in Bill and Fifth at first, and then she
Uh-huh.
decided to move out and buy her house in Randolph. So I
Okay.
had to find a place. So I asked them for a place, and they gave me this apartment. I've been in this apartment since 1982, maybe a little longer, and it's. I've been here and everything is convenient. Like Miss Annie said, it's convenient for me. I can get on the bus. At the time, I had a car, and
Mm-hmm.
I was able to drive myself to where I needed to go. My hospital appointments, my hospitals in the area. Always to the store, to the church. My church was on Talbot Ave. I was able to get there. So
Yeah.
yes, convenience, affordability. At the time, it was very affordable for me. At the time,
Yeah.
yes.
I like the idea of convenience, affordability, and also community,
Hmm.
because I think so. The two of you been in the community 50 years, 43 years. I know
Hmm.
I wasn't in the United States that long, but
Yeah.
somehow 6 years ago we all got connected, and
Yeah.
you all have since became very close in terms of like friendship
Yeah.
because of something that we had to do. So, Annie, can you tell us a little bit about why? How did you two become BFF?
Well, well, in 2019, we met at a tenants association meeting. We have a tenants association here, and there was a meeting, and we met at the meeting. And after the meeting, we talked for a few minutes, and it's just been the closeness since then.
Yeah, I like this picture. I just talk of you two at your in your apartment.
Yes.
The two of you smiling. And I remember when we were leaving because I was like, oh, I was trying to do this at your house and I was having technical issues. And I said, you
Mhm.
know what, I'm going to my house and I'll call you all. And then as Miss Betty was leaving your apartment, she said, bye, Miss Annie, I love you. And I felt like this is what community is all about. You're not blood sisters, but because of your mutual struggle, you two have become very close friends. Do you feel that way, Miss Betty?
Yes, I do. At first, I didn't know Miss Annie was over here. I didn't know she lived there. We right across the way from one another. And
Yeah.
when we finally met, it was like, oh my God, you live here? I said, yeah, I live here. Right. I said, oh, girl, we've been here a long time. So We just meeting and we became just talking to each other, going to meetings. We became good friends because we both had the same issue. We're
Yeah.
worried about our home. We're trying to stay in where we live at. We don't want to keep getting rent increases. So we just wanted to fight. So with this City Life individual came to visit us, asking us to join a tennis association, we did. And it was good. And I like that.
Yeah, I'm excited because I know I had a lot to do with this relationship.
Yeah,
The one
exactly.
who went to, I was a volunteer at the time, way back in 2000. I started volunteering in the community in 2016, because the housing crisis of 2008 had impacted me, and I knew it had impacted so many people that I knew. Homeowners were getting their homes foreclosed. And also, I knew tenants who had lost their apartments because they couldn't afford it. And so I wanted to be part of community because I had gone through a similar situation. And I was like, oh, let me find a way to support, to help. And when I went to the organization that we've been part of, City Life, I remember, saying to myself, yeah, we definitely, this organization, this community deserves to have a tenant association where folks will know each other and
Hmm.
get together and figure out what's going on. So why in 2018, you said, Miss Annie, why did you all decide to have tenant association? And
Well,
what is it? Actually, maybe Miss Betty could tell us what is a tenant association after you explain why you decided to have that.
Okay.
okay.
Go
We
ahead.
we found out that our community had been sold, and once it was sold, it sold to a corporation, and they came in and immediately started raising the rents by hundreds of dollars. And we live in a community where it's hard to afford, extremely high rents. This is a working class community, and also inhabitant of elderly people and
Hmm.
disabled people. We
Yeah.
can't who live on a fixed income. So it was important to us to have some sort of way to stand together and to just speak to this corporation who became our landlord and let them know that we was not accepting, we couldn't accept what they were coming in and offering.
Mhm.
Yeah, because what they were coming in and offering was very high rent increases,
Yes.
Yes,
right? And also
hundreds of
the options that they were saying to you all, whether it's either you pay the high rent increase or you get out.
you
Now,
Right.
leave.
now
Yes,
we just
Right.
shared that you've been there this year 50 years, but at the time it had been about 46 years or 45 years. And
yes.
Hmm.
so for them to come in, and they came in, they said, you know what, here's your rent increase of $300 to $500. I remember you had mentioned earlier today, $300 to $500. And if you refuse, if you don't want to pay that, then you can get out after 43 years. You can get out. Now, again, a new company that came in to purchase your complex, right? Do you know why they came to purchase your complex, Miss Betty? Do you know what was the reason why this new company came?
Well, yeah, we have a mural out here that the community fought for years to get. They wanted a community rail because they can get around. So the community rail go from here downtown and takes you somewhere else, everywhere else. So that's one of the reasons why, because they saw that the property was what they call it, un, un
Underutilized.
unutilized. That's the word, unutilized property. But the main reason was because they thought they could get people buy the property and throw people out of their homes and have the fact that there's a community right out here for the other people that's coming in. So they didn't want us here. They tried they best to get us out. So they did all the tactics they could do to uh, doing all kind of stuff to us. And they also didn't want us to just be happy in our home. They wanted us to leave. And I wasn't planning on leaving. This was my home. I
Yeah.
raised my daughter and by golly, I'm praying that I'm here until I leave this earth. So this is where I'm comfortable. This is my home. And I'm glad that, this is where I live.
Yeah, this is where you live. And I
Yeah.
know in the last 6 years, it's been war, right? You,
Yes.
you've been fighting. And the tenant association I just mentioned, for those people who are not familiar, because I know many folks are familiar with unions and how they work, but you all started a tenant association
Yes.
at your complex there in Boston because you wanted to have what unions usually, the reason why we have unions at work is because the employees are looking for collective power. They want to have
Right.
collective strength. Is that the reason why unions, tenant association unions was formed at Fairlawn, the complex that you live at?
We
Um,
love.
yes, yes, it is because we needed to have some kind of uh, 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 right a leverage to negotiate and to fight for our homes, and that's why we wanted to have the tenants association. Yes.
Right.
The tenant, so how has that worked for you in terms of the tenant association? You just mentioned, Miss Betty, that you have your home and you, by golly, you've been here and you've been
Yes.
fighting for 6 years to stay and you're not going anywhere. Has the
Yeah.
tenant association empowered you to feel that that the type of empowerment and strength that you have today?
Yes. By being in a tenant association, and we okay to go to city life. City life is the main reason that we're here too. City
Mhm.
life. We was empowered by going. We was asked to go to a meeting, and
Yeah.
when we got there, I was embarrassed. To be honest with you, I really didn't want to say anything, but they teach you that you leave your embarrassment at the door.
Mm-hmm.
They teach you how to be very assertive. Speak for
Mm-hmm.
yourself. Don't stand back. Don't let people walk over you. And they teach you the ins and outs of what a landlord can and cannot do. And I found out that a landlord cannot throw me out of my house, only a judge can.
Yeah.
And they can say whatever they want to say, unless they take me to court, I'm not leaving.
Yeah.
So being in a tenant association and being a part of a group that somebody's standing behind you, that's always there. If you have an issue, you can go and talk to them about. And they have lawyers. They have people that they have these great advisors there that helps you and to talk to you and help you to understand your rights. Help you to take care of you because
Mm-hmm.
nobody else is going to do that. And they tell you that you need to just come. Don't sit back. Don't leave your home.
Mm-hmm.
Don't, no matter what they tell you, do not leave your home because once you leave, there's probably nothing they can do. And then you come back to try to get back to try to get help. It's probably going to be a little bit harder, but
Mm-hmm.
while you're there and you got people working with you, 50-50. You don't go in there and leave it at the door. You have to work too, and you have to give back. So when someone helps you, you have to give back. And
Yeah.
it's like being in a family. It is a family because they show you nothing but love and teach you the right thing you should do. And that's
Yeah.
why I feel that a tenant association, with whether you have one person, you need two people, yourself and someone else, to form a tenant association. You get it started. And then you have this group, City Life, Vidobana, behind you, pushing you, and you get other people to join. And that's how you become a collaborative
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. You need collective power because at the end of the
Yes.
day, we're talking about tonight the importance of housing. We all know what's been happening right now. There
Yes.
are so many unhoused people
Yes.
who are families who are
Yes.
in the Boston area right now. We've seen it on the news that migrants and other family members, but not only migrants, but other community members who are not migrants who have been facing housing insecurity. They've been dealing with landlords who have been really difficult to work with, difficult to deal with. Miss Annie here, 50 years in her apartment. She chose that place she just mentioned because of the location and the fact that the price was right for her. Now, 50 years
Right.
later, she's facing eviction And the eviction mean like literally after 50 years of paying her rent on time. The new landlord, we can say the name is called DSF. They've decided that they don't want her in the community anymore. They want her out of the community. And Miss Betty just mentioned that the reason why they want her out of the community is because there's a new commuter rail across the street.
Exactly.
So, but who worked on having the commuter rail across the street? Was it DSF or was it the people in the community? Miss Annie, do you
The
know?
people
It was the
in the
people in the, oh,
Miss Annie,
sorry.
go ahead.
Oh, it was the people in the community that worked for it, and because it was the people in the community that needed it. And so they worked to get it. So I feel that it's the people in the community should benefit from it.
right.
Yeah, yeah. We
The
call
community, yes.
we referred to that as sweat equity. The people have put their sweat in to work on getting commuter rail stop right across the street from your complex because
Exactly.
the avenue there, it's a huge avenue. It's very long, and there are a lot of businesses and families and communities members who live in the area. And I know for sure because I was part of church community there for many years. I remember people coming into the basement of the church to talk about how can we bring. I remember the first time Miss Annie, somebody called me and said, Gabrielle, do you know we're gonna have a train station? There's gonna be a train station across the street from the church. And I was like, really? And it was like a far-fetched ideal, right? Like,
Yeah.
really, we're gonna have that? And then I started seeing the meetings, right? They're inviting folks at the church, they're inviting folks in the community to come and be part of it, to lend your voice and to participate in the process. And I was part of several meetings. And I know I saw you and I saw everybody else in the community, Black and brown community members.
Yes.
I saw them there. And after nearly 20 years, I think it took about 15 to 20 years. It took so long that I don't remember exactly, but I think it was a long time, over 15 years. We finally got that commuter rail on the avenue.
Mhm.
And that commuter rail is the reason why you and Miss Betty are facing eviction, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's right.
I would say so, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's not, now, is this just happening to you or is it happening to other people too in the community?
Other people as well. Most of the people that got it, when the owners, the new owners bought it,
Uh-huh.
they started, like Miss Andy said, they were sending out rent increases. And most of the people that left here said that they're sick of it because they're just going to leave. But my question was, where were they going to? Because all of Massachusetts was having the same issues. So just because we have a problem, that doesn't mean all other cities doesn't have it. But yeah, it was so many people leaving, and you didn't really know they was leaving unless you looked at the garbage place and you saw all the mattresses and all the stuff that was left out there. It was like the truck come in and they gone. So I wasn't going. And I know Miss Ann wasn't going because we talked about it. And we're gonna stay here. It's a do or die.
Yes.
That's what
Wow,
you say.
you two don't look like fighters. How come you decided to become such great fighters?
Oh my gosh. They make you become great fighters. Because you gotta keep at them, because they're always coming at you with every punch they can get you. But you have to be able to stand back and show them that they can't just walk over you. They can't just slap you in the face and tell you it's tomorrow or it's another day, and you keep slapping me. Every day they're slapping you. It's someday you got to wake up. I'm telling people you have to wake up. You can't let them keep slapping you and knocking you around, because you're gonna have to wake up to the fact that just because you think you're special, that you're situated right now, that doesn't mean that something else not gonna come down the road and knock you over. So you have to be on guard for everything. And
You have to be on guard, but you also have to be part of community, like you said earlier. That Miss Annie, be on guard, but also be part of community, but also knowing your rights, right? Because you find that many folks have decided to run away or to not stand up and fight because they didn't know that you had just mentioned earlier, Miss Betty, that only a judge can put you out of your home, meaning like you have to have due process, meaning like you have to go through the process of going through an eviction process. But many times folks are not willing to go to that eviction process because there are consequences to it. And also because they don't have the support that you all have. Do you agree, Miss Annie?
Yes, I do. And I would say the best thing in this situation that happened for me was when I went to my first City Life meeting and became a member there and going through the sword and the shield action and everything. And that helped me to find my strength, my voice, and my courage, and to also know that I had a right as a tenant to stand up and fight for my home using these lessons and the sword and the shield that City Life taught me.
Yeah, I love the idea of the sword and the shield. I read a book a while back called The Sword and the Shield, and it talked about Malcolm X and um and MLK. And I think that book is about to become, it's actually either a movie or something that's coming out pretty soon. I've been seeing stuff online. I think it's a movie. It's coming out pretty soon. But when I first heard of the sword and the shield, and I was like, the sword, like you going after somebody with the sword, and the shield, you're protecting yourself. But going after somebody is being able to stand up and fight, right? Is being
Yes.
able to say, I'm not gonna roll over and leave my home just because you want me out of my community after 50
You
years.
go.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's collective power coming together with your neighbors to say, what do we want? And when do we want it? And how can we get it as a collective?
Yes.
So I just want to mention that, you've been talking about your own personal experiences, but let me ask you, now when this company came to your community and decided that they were going to do business the way they wanted to do business, did you all attempt to have a conversation, communicated with them? Did you try to communicate with them about what you wanted and how you could have a win-win situation, work together, and have in a community where they would be happy and you, well, as much as you could, they would be happy and you would be happy? Did you try to do that?
Yes, we did. We made so many attempts to meet them in the first place and to sit down and have a conversation with them, but they were just so uninterested that they still in 5 years they still have not met with us. And we felt that if we could come to the table together and communicate and talk about what was good for us and what would be good for the community, it would be good for them. But they just were not interested in a conversation at all. And
Yeah,
after
why do you
5
think they were
years,
not
still no conversation.
Miss Betty, why do you think they were not interested in having a conversation with you and or the association or the community
Because they don't want us to maintain the property any longer. That's what I think. I believe that we did well. Let's admit, okay, we tried, but we met with some people from Wynn who was a part of their, just managing the property, and they promised us that we would be able to talk to them, but they just lied, and so we didn't never get a chance to talk to them. And I believe that they wanted us out of the community. They just wanted us out. They wanted to get everyone that they could out and redo the apartments and list it at a higher value. They
Yeah.
probably wanted to turn them into luxury apartments, which,
Yes.
these apartments are really nice and they big, but they just don't keep them up. And no matter what you do or in your apartment, you take care of your apartment, but that needs to be done in here, you have a hard time getting them to try to fix everything. And a lot of people left here because of all the mice and the roaches that was here, and also because when you go to the office to ask them to do anything, they give you lip back. They're not the people that we have there now. They're not very good.
So
Person that
the management company that's managing the property, also is not respecting and providing the best
Right.
service. Yeah.
Well, we have Corcoran management was here before Dobin, before Wynn, and they was raising the rents, then and going causing people to, move out too. But the ones that stayed here, they was able to talk to them, and we had good people in there then. But then this DSL thought that, I believe this is my opinion, that they wasn't doing the job they put them in there to do, get rid of the people, raise the rents and get rid of the people. So they got rid of them. And then they brought in Wynn, who proceeded to, go through the process of trying to get rid of people. But you see, they too didn't work out. Wynn DSF didn't work out with them either. So
Yeah.
I don't know that what's going to happen over here, but I do know this: if it's DSF for gone, it's a win. It's a win-win. And I look to see who the new management's not man, yeah, management too, who the new owner is going to be, so that we can, as a tenant association, get the respect we deserve,
Yeah.
and then recognition from the owners that we deserve, and that we can talk with them and work with them. That's what we're looking for now. And
So
so,
again, I wanted to say that this morning, earlier today, like around 2 o'clock, I went to your house, Miss Annie, because Fox 25 wanted to interview you and myself about the conditions and the situation that's happening with you in your building. You live in the complex right there. And
mhm,
and I know that the conversation was, why after 50 years of paying your rent, being responsible, being a good neighbor, not nobody could say they're looking at you here, you like some wild animal who's like partying every night, right? Being responsible for 50 years, why would a company, a corporate landlord who's on its way out of your community because they've decided to sell the complex, why would they still want to pursue you in the court of law? Do you know why they would still want to pursue you in the court of law? Because I know the lady here, Carrie Kavanaugh, she's from Fox 25 News, and she had asked me the same question, and I wanted to hear, why do you think they would want to drive you out of your community after 50 years while they're leaving?
mhm,
Well, I think number one is they were not interested in a tenants association. And once we formed and became became that association, that obviously they looked at it as a threat. And the next part was they considered me uncooperative and rude. And because I chose not to sign the lease, they
mhm,
considered me that. And the other part is, I think they obviously, by us staying here fighting for our homes, it made them upset again, because their plan was to price everybody out, redevelop, and bring in people that could afford to pay their rents, pay what they
mhm,
were asking for rents. But well, and the bottom line with that is, if I'm speaking up and fighting for my home, if you call that rude, then I guess I'm rude. But
Yeah,
I'm not going to accept something that I know I can't do. And if I
mhm,
know I can't pay your rent, then I'm not going to sign your lease. And
yeah.
mhm.
that's just the bottom line. So if that's by telling you that, if that make me a rude person, then I guess I'm a rude person.
Yeah.
But they are pursuing me for the fact that I'm rude. So
Yeah. So they are trying to evict you after 50 years. They've only
yes,
been in your community for about 5 years, but
right.
you've been there for 50 years. But
Mhm.
Yes,
somehow they've decided that you are rude enough to evict you out of your community.
yes.
Miss Betty, I just
Yeah.
want to, for those of who are gonna be watching or watching now, what were some of the signs that you actually noticed that indicated to you that, yeah, they were trying to gentrify, meaning like change the community's faces, They were trying to change the community and then turn it to something that it's not right now. What would that sign of Somadity be one of them?
Yeah, that might have been one.
Yeah.
They didn't want to communicate with us, you know. When you go over there to talk to them, they didn't really want to be bothered. You know, they
Yeah.
kept changing people in the offices. They closed it. You know, we had a rally outside. They closed the doors on us, called the cops on us. They didn't really want to be bothered with us. They really didn't want to have a conversation. They just, and also the fact that we put up signs that we shall not be moved in the windows, that really pissed them off. Excuse my language, but you know that really did, because
Because you didn't want to move. You didn't want to move. You were not about to move.
I don't want to move. I tell that to anybody, that if you're in a place that you're comfortable and you're happy and it's not a bad community. Could it be worse? And sometimes the people are not that great, but you have to be great. You have to be better than them. You have to stand up
Yeah.
and be a nicer person. As the Bible says, turn the other cheek and just enjoy life, because
Mhm.
we all gonna have to leave here someday. And I don't want it to be right away, because I don't want to be worried whether my gonna be throwing me out of this place. I need to be comfortable. I don't want to be I want to go to bed at night and not worry about tomorrow. I want to
Correct.
be able to rest and peace.
At
And
peace. Yeah.
yeah, peace. I don't want them aggravating me. I don't want them putting signs on my doors telling me how much money I owe them. I just want them to listen to me and say they understand. Because, God forbid if they in the same position that I'm in, you know? If they don't
Well,
own their own,
I don't think they're thinking about that Miss Betty, because at the end of the day, they feel like they're in a position to oppress. That's what they're
Mhm.
gonna do. They're gonna continue to oppress because they are in a position where they can do that. I
Yeah.
had asked about the fact that, one of the ways, one of the signs that we received, which stated clearly to us that this property was about to get gentrified and
Mhm.
get and change turnaround was turnover was going to happen, and that was
Mhm.
the plan. One of the signs actually was the press release. In the press release in 2018, they clearly stated that this community was underutilized and they came
Mhm.
to maximize profit. So that's one
Mhm.
thing. The second thing is the fact that immediately, as soon as they came 5 years ago, they changed the name from Fairlawn, which was the original name, or close to the original name, and then they changed it to Somadity. They
Yeah.
decide, and then if you go online to check their advertisement and different things, none of those people that they have are there showing their look. Um, None of them look like us,
That's true.
like us. So it's very important to know that, again, you guys were facing a situation where you felt like, okay, I could roll over and die, or I
Mhm.
could stand up and fight, and you found community to fight together. Now, I
Right.
had asked you that question offline, Miss Annie. In addition to your community, but I mean, like, how huge is this problem? I mean, have you seen other people from other neighborhoods or other complex who are facing similar issues? And what would you say to them?
Well, what I would say to them, yes, I have, and I've heard, of other cities and towns as well as in my community. But the first thing that I would tell them is to not leave, to
Uh-huh.
learn their rights and not to leave, and
Mhm.
just to know that they have, before anybody can remove them from their home, it has to be due process and ordered by a judge. So
Correct.
Mhm.
stay and fight, find your voice, come to City Life, find your voice, stay and fight, and City Life definitely will fight with you and fight for your home. You have that right. That is your right. And you deserve to have a clean, safe, stable home.
Right.
Everybody does.
Yeah,
Stay in.
and
Exactly.
if you're not in Boston, Miss Betty, because I know last night we had a meeting and people were coming from Atlanta. A group came from Atlanta, Atlanta Housing League, I believe that was the name. They came, so they are community housing justice, housing advocacy groups throughout the United States and even
Mhm.
overseas. Because overseas, guess what? This is a global issue. Housing has become a commodity.
Yes.
Commodity where once upon a time it was you get a home and it was for you to live with your friends and family. And that home, if you had a multifamily, then you could rent one to another family and they helped you out with your mortgage and you all lived happily ever after. Nowadays, that's not what's happening, right, Miss Betty? Folks, investors, folks who have decided that homes, real estate would be their stock market, right? And now
Yeah.
they are viciously pursuing communities, and especially most, I would say, Black and brown communities mostly. They're
Mhm.
pursuing these communities because they're calling them underutilized, and many of them are near the city. And they're pursuing those communities because they feel like they can make a quick buck by coming in, gentrified the community, meaning like kicking the old timers, people like Annie and Betty, Miss Annie and Betty, who've been in the community for over 50, 40 plus years, kick them out and then get somebody else who do not look like them, or the people who do not look like them to come in and take over the community. And we are saying no. And obviously, you two have decided that you would fight because you love your home and you want to stay there, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
So Miss Betty, I know earlier today when we were doing the interview with Fox 25, she had asked us, what would be your ideal situation? What would have been the ideal situation to help um avoid if it would have been possible to avoid the fight that you've been in since 2018. I know Ms. Annie had mentioned TOPA and rent control. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay. Yes, we had we've been fighting for rent control for some time now. And we had a measure into the State House before, but it was shot down.
Yeah.
So Mayor Wu, who came in and said, went on the platform that she will implement a rent control plan. She did that, but she did it at 10%. So our organization that around said that was too much. I said it was too much because it would be like I'm paying the same amount of money I'm paying now.
Yeah.
So to have rent control
But
in a
what is
situation,
the rent control for those who are not familiar with it? What would that do for someone like you, rent control?
oh my God, it'll keep me in my home. It'll give me affordable rent. It will keep me, I can be able to buy my food, I can be able to buy my medicine, I can be able to go pay my bills that I have. If we had air control. And TOPA also too, because TOPA would have been able to with a nonprofit organization to buy our property that we can get to stay in our home, and you'd probably be someone who's just to help us stay in our home. TOPA is that bill, Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act. And
Mhm.
that bill would enable us to stay in our home along with a nonprofit to work with us to give us reasonable rents to stay here. And
Correct. Because Miss Betty, Miss Annie, I mentioned, I remember we had stated that this company that we're talking about, DSF, came in 2018, and they
mhm,
offered $65 million for your
mhm,
home, for your complex. But then also too, a nonprofit had offered the same amount of money, but the
mm,
nonprofit was not chosen. They
right,
were chosen, a for-profit organization was chosen over a nonprofit. And the nonprofit, their primary objective is to create affordable and habitable homes. So they would have
mhm,
come to your community, work with the city, work with you all, create an affordable environment that you and Miss Annie and everybody else would have been able to afford, and it would have
right,
been a much safer place to live. But instead, the previous owner decided to sell it to a corporation. Now,
mhm,
with TOPA, you just mentioned the Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act. This is legislation that's been in the State House here in Massachusetts for God knows how many. I think it's been around for at least 5 years since I've been
mhm,
following it. And that legislation, if they were to pass that, if that was in place, guess what? We would have had the opportunity to purchase first, meaning like a
mhm,
nonprofit would have had the first choice, the first
mhm,
rate of refusal versus having to fight with a corporation. They would have had the first right to come in and say, okay, let me see if I can purchase this to keep communities intact. stable life.
Mhm.
So TOPA is very important, and we've been fighting for that. And if you are a legislator, if you are someone who's watching and you want to work with us on that, that's definitely what needs to happen. Because guess what? 5 years later, DSF is selling, the same thing is happening. It's not going to a nonprofit. It's
Yeah.
going to a for-profit again. Hopefully this time the for-profit has some common sense and they want to work with us because they would have heard what has happened, what's been happening in the last 5 years, with you all being
German.
not easily moved. You're not
Mhm.
easily shaken. And they would know that there's gonna be a fight if they try to replicate what this current landlord's been doing.
Of course.
But the rent control part, like I had asked you, what is rent control? And to me, rent control is peace of mind because the fact that don't you think that the reason why you fighting Miss Annie is because they came in and you were paying a rent that you were comfortable with, you had budgeted for, and then all of a sudden they're telling you your rent is going up to $500. With rent control, would they have been able to do that?
No, they would not have. They would have had to um, go by the guidelines of that rent control contract, and they would not have been able to do it. And I guess that's why it's just so out of control now. Everything is out of control, and they basically are doing things the way that they want to do them or are doing them because there is nothing to protect people like us as
Yeah.
rent control would do.
Yeah, they
So,
say fair market, the free market economy. They're saying like whatever the market is willing to pay, that's what they're willing to ask. And
but they
so,
don't look at the fact of when you're considering that, you have to consider what the person can afford instead of pushing
True.
people out or doing it to push people out,
yeah.
you know?
So we need
And
some
that's what they
control.
do.
I know Massachusetts, several cities, including Boston, had the rent control, but in 1994, that was lifted. The rent control ban was lifted, so therefore, that's when it became unbearable, out of control for families like you, like yours, because at the end of the day, the landlords, the greedy, many of them are greedy landlords. I have to mention it. It is greed that's been causing this. They come in and they don't take into consideration, like you said, people like you who've been in the community for 50 years. Everything that you know is around you. I know we're talking about your church. It's 15 minutes. Your sister lives 15 minutes away. Your doctor, after all these years, you're 73, right, Miss Annie? Uh,
Yes, yes,
everything that you know is in your neighborhood, and all of a
yes,
sudden this newcomer is telling you, no, you don't belong here anymore because we want to make maximum profit, so you get to be evicted out of the community so that we
yes,
can enjoy the community after you've done all the work to bring
yes,
value.
yes,
You did all the work to bring the value, and they want
yes,
to come in and extract all the value for themselves. They
yes.
they want to cash in from your hard
Hmm.
work, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I just want to say again, ladies, I want to talk. I wanted to have this quick conversation because I know housing, to me, it's the most important part of everything. When you have a safe, habitable home, when you have a safe, habitable home to live, everything else is possible. Without that, you really cannot function. And I feel like it's almost like the plan of the enemy that has created this mayhem in our society, in our communities, in our country, where housing now has become a commodity, where
Yeah.
they think that they can trade it in and out like the stock market, flip properties like they're flipping, like they're buying and selling stocks in the stock market,
Yeah.
in the stock market, not
Yes.
considering because the stock, a piece of paper that's being traded, doesn't have casualties. I don't
Yeah.
think they don't have
Yeah.
the human casualties that when you come in, you want to flip a property, you want to evict people, you want to foreclose on a family without first considering the fact that they have invested everything. We didn't even get a chance to talk about the fact that you two are renters, but we also work with homeowners.
Yes.
Homeowners that I
Yes.
know who have been actually had asked somebody to be here when I was coming from your house. I said, oh, let me call Hope to see if Hope would be willing to get on the call tonight. And you're talking about people who have been fighting their banks.
Yes.
dealing with banking since
Mm-hmm.
the Great Recession of 2008.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
They've been fighting, just like you two have been fighting for 6 years
Yes.
to stay in
Yes.
Wow.
your home, right? We have homeowners who have been fighting with mortgage companies, fighting for reasonable resolution with mortgage companies since 2000. Mortgage companies like Bank of America, mortgage
Mm.
companies like Wells Fargo, mortgage
Yeah.
companies like, even the huge
Fannie Mae.
institution like Fannie Mae. I know
Mm.
personally people who have been fighting in the court, with Fannie Mae because they're
That's
in the
right.
business. They're claiming they're there to help families own homes, especially Black and brown families who had been left out because of redlining. For many
Mm-hmm.
years, we couldn't afford to purchase a home. Definitely not in the other communities, other than specific communities. And
Mm-hmm.
when folks were finally able to purchase homes, the Great Recession of 2008 came. I know someone who lost a home after 20 years of paying because the
Mm.
bank decided that, you know what, just like your landlord is saying, I don't want to help. You 50 years, I don't care. You've been here 50 years. Get
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
We'll drag you to the courthouse. I know when you
Mm-hmm.
went to court a couple of weeks ago, 25 of us went to support you, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Mm.
25 community members went to say, you know what, Annie is a good tenant, Annie
Yeah.
is a good community member, and we're gonna go before the judge with her.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
of course, you
Yeah.
had legal representation, but we went. It's the same thing that's happening with home owners here. After years of struggling to stay in a
Yes.
home, they're being pushed out of their homes and they're being told that you don't belong in this community anymore. And we're
Yeah.
gonna evict you to a foreclosure and we're gonna go through the process of eviction. And we just
Yeah.
wanna let everybody know before we leave here, we don't have much time. Actually, we said we were gonna do this for what? Half an hour?
Mhm.
Because it's been a long day, but we ended up, we so much we can say. But before I leave here, I just want to share something, a brief synopsis or a brief advice. We had say, okay, what is anything else that you would like to say here, Miss Annie? I just want to say that for me, one of the things that I want to say to those who are watching, if you get a notice, whether it is a notice to quit from a landlord, that's not a notice to leave your home. So a notice to quit is not a notice to leave your home. When you get that letter coming home from work, coming home from wherever, you get a letter saying like, you have 15 days to leave. You have 30 days to leave. That's not a notice for you to leave. Why? Because you have rights. We talk
Mhm.
Mm.
about due
Yes.
process. You
Mm.
have an opportunity to fight. And the reason why you want to stay put is because guess what? For many families, in order for them to move out of their apartments, they need 3 months first
See.
class in security. Not
Yes.
everybody can afford first class in
Yeah.
security. So you do not want to leave your apartment to go in a shelter or to
Mhm.
go in somebody else's basement or to become a burden to somebody else
Mm.
when you can stay put
Yeah.
and fight for your homes. But how can you fight for your home? Would you suggest community organizing, tenant association, like finding commonality between your neighbors so that you can stand strong together? Is any?
Yes. In fact, that's very important because if everybody know their rights and you stand together and you're in a good place then and you do have that right, and if you stand together and fight, stay in your home and stand together and fight for it. It's
Mhm.
in a community that you love, you're stable, and it's good, so you should stand and fight. Yes. And I will continue to fight. And
Mhm.
in closing this, what I would like to add to any to the legislatures of the state, and just to
Mhm.
say that rent control is very important, it's protective, and it is very much needed. And not just rent control, but also TOPA, because it would give us an opportunity. But at the same time, as you mentioned a minute ago, there are families that have struggled to buy homes. And
Mhm.
now their homes are in jeopardy also, and that's their lifeline. That's everything. That's the biggest American dream that people have.
Mhm.
And
Never
then
mind.
they are going to lose that now. So I think, it's just a problem everywhere, and only it's something that we can stand and fight for, but our legislatures can actually fix it.
Correct.
Mhm.
They can fix it. What else would you like to say to someone who's watching right now, who's facing eviction or foreclosure, or is not sure what to do next? What would you say to them, Miss Betty?
Exactly what Miss Annie said, and add to that they should form a tenant association in their building, and they should come together and get a organization like City Life, called City Life, so that they can have somebody standing behind them. Because you need somebody to be there for you. You just can't do it by yourself. Don't try to do something on your own, because it's not going to work, because they know that if you just there by yourself, they can do anything or say anything. But if you got people behind you standing up to fight with you, then yeah, you should get in touch with City Life and learn your rights and learn to stand up and not to fall down.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is that you you are human being. You are a person,
Mhm.
and you need to be treated like such. And just like they need a home, you need a home.
Correct.
And you just don't just let them take away your joy and your happiness. Just enjoy life and fight, because in the end, that's what you're gonna have to do. All I can say is that you just have to look for places, look for people that that can help you, and that's City Life. And no matter what you do, don't give up. Don't give up, and don't lose faith, and don't lose that mindset that you got to leave, because you don't. As Annie said, only a judge can throw you out of your home, and you have to realize that, and you have to try to get organized. You have to try to get some education in how you deal with the landlords behind you in your under your belt. Because if you're blind, going in somewhere blind, you're gonna get blindsided. So you have to be able to know what you're worth, and you're worth a lot more than they want to give you. And a home is what you need. A home is what you should have, and just believe and trust.
Yeah.
Not them, trust yourself.
Yeah, we definitely believe that housing is a human right and that without affordable and habitable homes, we cannot survive. You have at the very core of who we are, you have to be able to come to a place where you feel safe, you feel welcomed, where you feel like this is my home. And
Mm-hmm.
whenever this is under attack, whether you are a landlord, a homeowner, or whether you are someone who's a tenant, you
Mm-hmm.
definitely have to do something. You cannot roll over and let people just like, do whatever they want. You have to stand up and fight back. But I want to reiterate again that in order for you to fight, you have to have collective power. You cannot
Right.
do this. You don't have enough strength. You don't have enough resources. You don't have enough anything to fight these powerful players. They're
Yeah,
powerful. They have money that you don't have. They have assets that you don't have. You need to have community to stand with you. So I
Yes.
always said that, in life, you go through situations, you experience hardships so that you can become more sensitized and then you can have more empathy. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that the very fact that we today can talk so boldly about what's been happening is because we've been sensitized and we can empathize with those people who are facing the similar situations today. So if
yeah,
you are in a situation and you feel like, you know what, I would like, we've been talking about an organization here, but the folks who are going to be watching this all over the country. I was in another country maybe 10 years ago, and I went to the courthouse because I was curious. I went to the courthouse and I saw the same thing, eviction, and it was another country. So it's happening everywhere. It's a global phenomenon that's happening. Real estate has become, like I say, a commodity. So therefore, you have to learn your rights. And I love the fact that Miss Annie and Betty, you kept saying over and over again, know your rights. Because if you don't know your rights, that's when you lose sleep. You don't know your rights, that's when you keep on you think you're fighting, but you don't have the right tools to fight. You don't know
Mm-hmm.
your rights, that's when you always be at a disadvantage. Not too
yeah,
long ago, somebody called me. She was in New York, and one of the ball was in New York. and she was facing eviction. And she was asking me what to do. In New York, they have right to counsel, but this is such a vast problem. She couldn't even find a counsel. She couldn't even find an attorney to stand with her. She had to go represent herself. So it's very important to at least be part of community. Don't wait until something is happening to you for you to learn about what's happening. You
That's
need to
true.
come out, be part of a community. If you don't know what to do, call your state legislators, say that, you know what, housing is such a big issue now. I would like to be part of the solution. Where would I go to volunteer? Because I know 15 years ago, I went in to volunteer at and went in to learn more about how to stand with my community and not to stand up for myself. So I would encourage everybody to do the same. Do not let them do whatever they want, because look at Miss Annie and Miss Betty. They're young 70s. They're in their 70s, they're very young. But guess what? They are fighters, because when we fight,
Yes. We
You gotta-
win.
when we fight,
We
win.
win.
and we're gonna continue to fight, and we're gonna continue to win. Thank you so
Yes.
much, ladies, again for being on the show. I appreciate you. I'm gonna go offline because it is time to go offline, and then I'm gonna say a goodbye for tonight. Okay?
Okay, good
Goodbye.
night.
Thank you everyone for watching. Please spread the word. Let's Talk Money with Friends is on. I wanted to have this conversation because a lot of people ask me sometimes, what do you do outside of, talking about money? Everything encompasses money. And I know for me, the fact that I can see you two smiling, you've become friends in the last 6 years. And I know
Yeah.
you're not the only one. There's so many people in the community whose lives I've touched and who have touched my life. And
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for that. And I know that that's my calling and my purpose. And it was good for me to have been afflicted because my affliction brought me to you all. So thank you
Good.
so much. Have a good
Thank
Thank
night
you.
to
Thank you.
everybody. Have a good night. Bye.
Good
See you next
night.